Hello, everyone. Welcome to the college football special for Ranters and Banters. I'm your host, Briley, joined by co host Luke and special guest Colin. And I won't be talking much today because I'm not a huge college football fan, but both Colin and Luke followed a little more closely than I do, so I'm sure they'll have some great information for you. So just as a broad outlook for this season, what is the state of college football right now? Luke, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, it's looking in a brighter spot. You get more playoff teams, so you're gonna get more money, more games, more money to the schools to build the programs. It's growing. It's only gonna get bigger. Conferences got bigger. I mean, at the expense of the Pac-12, but surely they're happy with the way that's going for them. And I mean, as a fan of just sport, we're gonna get some really big matchups that probably wouldn't normally happen. Something like an Oregon and Ohio State in the regular season. I'm trying to think of other bigger ones. Texas versus Alabama on the regular. Big matches more often, and it should be a lot of fun. Same will happen in college basketball though as well.
Great. Um, Other than the rule changes, were there any big stories since last college football season that either of you guys are aware of that might affect this season?
You have FSU and Clemson suing the ACC about media deal rights, and then I think just today they said that the NCAA is going to try to eliminate the spring transfer window.
Interesting. Okay. Um, tell me about the transfer windows because I'm not too aware of how that works. Are there more than one typically?
Uh, there is now, so you have one like you can transfer during right after the season ends, declare to enter the transfer portal, and you're able to transfer schools, but you can't transfer within conference because if you transfer within conference, you have to sit out a year. But that would be after the season, and now that right at the end of spring ball, you can re-enter this transfer portal right at the middle to the end of April, right before May. You can re-enter the transfer portal and say like, say I was at Florida State, and after the season I wanted to transfer to Illinois. I played spring ball at Illinois and I like it. Then at the current moment, I can transfer to the University of Oregon and go play there, or I could go back to Florida State. So it's very a chaotic thing, and right now, I think they're just trying to eliminate an extra so you get guys stop constantly jumping and jumping.
Okay. Understood. Understood. And do you know much more about that? The says I only knew of FSU. I didn't know Clemson was also suing the ACC. Um, is this are they trying to get out of the ACC?
Uh, I think eventually both schools will leave the ACC. Right now, it's suing for media rights because back in 2016, I think they signed a 20-year contract with the conference, saying that the conference gets all the media rights per school instead of giving them back to the school. So the ACC is in control of where, say, like it's Georgia Tech versus NC State. That's not a usually not a big national game, so it's not going to be on your ESPN. It's only going to be on the ACC network. So you have to pay for the ACC network to watch that game.
I
But
see.
biggest things is it's not like the Big Ten where the better the school, better like your school football team does, the more money you get from the media rights. And the ACC, the top teams get more money, but it's more spread evenly throughout the conference. But I could be wrong, but I think that's how that is. It's very different. I think they're one of the few conferences that are like that.
Yeah, my cousin Keith had mentioned that might be a reason he's an FSU fan too, and he was talking about how I guess FSU doesn't get as large of a cut as they would in other conferences because of how the ACC distributes that money out. But
It's a very weird conference, but I think there's benefits and downsides to it.
sure, and I'm getting to know it well myself, living in North Carolina, so especially the Triangle. Yeah, and just to briefly touch on that, I'm excited to watch NC State. Might get to go to their game on Thursday. I know they're not playing any team that really matters, but will be fun to go watch a ranked football program, 24 for them to start the season.
They have they have a Thursday night game?
They do have a Thursday night game to start the season.
That is weird
off.
for an ACC school.
But yeah, hopefully I'll get to, even if I don't get to go to that game, I'm sure I'll get to go to at least one this year, see what they're all about. But I think we'll just go ahead and get into predictions then for the season. Y'all will probably have to explain yours. I just took some shots in the dark because I don't know any of these programs or teams or anything. I just kind of went with my gut and who I liked. But we will hopefully get some more informed opinions from you all. So we'll start off with the SEC, and Colin, you want to kick us off with who your pick is to win the SEC this year?
My pick to win the SEC would be Georgia over Texas in the SEC championship.
Georgia over Texas. All right. And so you think that they're the number one team? The ranking is right. No big upset there this year.
Nah, Georgia's statistically the best team in college football and has been for the last couple of years. It's kind of crazy what Kirby Smart has done there and turned Georgia back into the powerhouse that it always has been. I think it's going to be Georgia over Texas just because Georgia's known SEC ball better. Their schedule's easier than some SEC schools. And then I just think Texas, a newcomer coming into the SEC, is going to want to prove something. And I think they have the team to make it all the way to the SEC championship as well. So I think those are my two teams that I say into it, just because two powerhouses going into the season.
Okay, and yeah, you attribute the credit to Georgia most to the coach. Then, are they just playing a different style of ball than they did before?
No, I think Georgia just lacked the coaching because Kirby Smart was, I think, the offense coordinator underneath Nick Saban.
Okay.
So has got to learn Nick Saban's motto of coaching, the recruiting system, and how to play the recruiting system, because that's one of the biggest things is playing the recruiting system coming from a Southern school like that, and being able to back your talk in a way to say like Texas used to be able to recruit better and back their way they play, but recently they have not been able to, and hopefully they will go get back to that way. But I'm always a horns down kind of guy.
Oh man, I can agree with you there. Luke, what do you think about the SEC this year?
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree. I think Georgia has the best chance. They're probably a team that felt snubbed last year. No different than a certain number 6. Week 4 they get Bama. Have to go on the road. Have to go on the road to Texas. Have to go on the road to Ole Miss. I don't think any of those give them any trouble. Texas would probably be the shocking one, where they go to Austin and maybe get beat. But even then, I don't think it matters. They'd still be the best team in the SEC based on the way a lot of these other schedules look. And then I think Tennessee's a little better, but not good enough to knock off Georgia. So they're going to take care of their business like they always do with Carson coming back as a senior. Like that's going to help. I have a couple of transfers like ETN. I think Chauncey Bowens is probably going to be starting over him anyway because I don't know if you've seen pictures of that dude. Oh, like Adama, built like a Greek god.
Oh man, that is
Mizzou.
quite a
Oh,
comparison there. So
yeah, he's massive. I actually have Mizzou though as who they'd be playing in the championship game. I
That's a good
think
choice.
think Mizzou got a cupcake of a schedule for the new SEC. Like their hardest game might be going to Alabama. They play Oklahoma at home, and they go to A&M. A&M will be the toughest test right out of the gate for them. Like week 5, you go down to Kyle Field, get a win. You'll feel pretty good about the rest of your year because then you got to go to Bryant Denny a couple weeks later. So by week 5, you'll know if Mizzou is going to be able to hold on because they don't really have much else going on. Three sort of ranked opponents. We'll see how A&M finishes the year. So Mizzou, Georgia wins it.
all right, I too had Georgia. I mean, they're ranked number 1 for a reason, so I tried not to think too hard about it. I thought about picking Texas just to be different, but that's not really a good enough reason to predict something or go back on it. So I'll stick with what my gut said today and put Georgia myself. Luke, what do you think about the Big Ten?
Yeah, this is Ohio State's. They play Iowa week 5. That's their first big matchup. Week 6 goes to Oregon. That'll be probably. I have that one as the Big Ten title game as well. So that'll be their biggest game. You got to go to Eugene, hostile environment, get a dub. Probably easily the second best team in the Big Ten with the Oregon Ducks, and could be a top 5 team honestly in the country. So like going out there getting a win or lose and getting a win later in the Big Ten championship, I could definitely see Ohio State doing. They get Penn State, of course, away. That'll be a whiteout late in the season, and then the game. Michigan will always give them a hard time, but yeah, I think Ohio State can win this one. They got Will Rogers transferred in. I think at quarterback, he's standard, typical, sit in the pocket type quarterback, but it's hard to get a CJ Stroud to come. So I still think they're good in the skills department with wide receivers and running backs. Like that's just what they do. They're a machine there. They're a machine on defense with the DBs and linebackers too. So yeah, it's gonna be tough for anybody else in the Big Ten to beat them.
Colin, what do you have to say in response to that?
I am the complete opposite. I have Oregon over Ohio State.
All right.
Oregon is one of those a new Big Ten member. I think they're going to be coming into the season looking to be hot, wanting to prove something. Oregon's always, usually year in and year out, Oregon's one of those schools that you always know are going to be in the top 25. I think this is their year to say, all right, it's time we submit something and say that we're this elite football program that we think we are. I think they ran the Pac-12 for the last couple of years, even though the Pac-12 did start to fall off. I think it's just a year they come in and try to dominate. Ohio State is a great team as well. I think they're also looking to do something now that Jim Harbaugh's gone out of Michigan, taking back that dominance of what the former Big Ten was. And I think it's going to be a nice classic between new versus old Big Ten in the championship game.
All right. There you have it. I myself went with Oregon. I just like their jerseys. I won't lie. I've always liked their jerseys. But I can't pick Ohio State and feel good about it. I just hate the Buckeyes. I don't always had a bias against them. So for me, it was Oregon. Um, Big 12. Colin, tell me your thoughts there.
I have Utah over Kansas State.
All right.
Um, the Utes the last couple years have been very good. I just like most of it. It's a new team coming in. Utah's getting going to be one of the top teams in the Big 12 just because it's the Big 12. It's was kind of like the Pac-12. It wasn't really taken as a serious competitor when you look at the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC. Um, you're getting a powerhouse from the Pac-12 coming into the Big 12, and I think they want to come in just like I said with Oregon, come in and show their force, and they have more. They're more than able to do it. And then Kansas State, I think they're a sleeper pick in the Big 12. I think a lot of people just kind of forget about them, especially now that the Texas and Oklahoma are gone. Somebody's going to have to step up, and I think it's those two teams. I don't think it's Colorado. I'm going to say it. I think Colorado's still overhyped, but I have Utah over Kansas State.
Utah over Kansas State. All right. Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually agree with Colin here. I have Utah and Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. I have Utah winning it. Cam Rising's playing in his like 10th year of college football. He's their quarterback. Micah Bernard's back as a senior. They were good last year. So if you got a good quarterback, good running back, and a couple guys who can catch a ball, you'll be able to score. They don't have many tough games, I would say, on the road. Oklahoma State. I think I have week 4 written down for them, and then Arizona week 5, but they play that at home. And then nothing. Maybe Central Florida gives them a little trouble, but they don't get Kansas State, West Virginia. They don't get any of those. So I think if they don't win the Big 12, I think that'll be the biggest upset of the season, honestly.
All
I
right.
agree with that take.
Yeah, I had Utah as well. I did look at their schedule, and I thought it looked rather weak for such a highly seeded team compared to the other schedules that I looked at. So, across the board on that one. How about the group of 5? Luke, I'll let you kick that off.
Yeah, so I have Boise State from the Mountain West winning the best record out of the group of 5. They'll definitely be in, like, I would say close contention with maybe Memphis from the American. Other than that, I really don't. I mean, it's popular, I guess, on the sporting betting apps to pick Liberty. I don't really see how they could be better than Boise, even if Boise takes a loss. Same with Memphis. Like, I don't know. I just like the way Boise's set up as a group of 5 team, and then their conference is, well, not the same as any of the Big Ten or ACC, Pac-12s. So, like, maybe their hardest games are the championship game where they may play like San Diego State, but I really don't know much about the group of 5 Mountain West. So
Colin, what about you?
I have either Memphis or Liberty. I think Memphis is a really solid team. I think they're a team that a lot of people forget. Uh, and then I think kind of have to say Liberty. They were one of 4 or 5 teams that went undefeated last year. Finished the season 24th in the nation. I don't think they lost a lot of guys. So I think they're just back looking to be another strong team and try to push for that automatic group of 5 bid for the college football playoffs.
Okay. And so if you had to pick one of those right now?
I would say Liberty.
Liberty. Yeah. I actually agree with you there. Like you said, undefeated last year. Um, that just bodes well going into any season, or maybe not. Since we're gonna talk about the ACC next, Colin, I'll let you get us started because I think you have the highest stakes in the ACC here with your team. Another undefeated team last season, but not undefeated this year. Tell me your thoughts on FSU right now.
After watching the game, I didn't get to watch the full game because of my place I was watching it kept dropping. So from what I did see, DJU is terrible. Should never have picked him up. He was terrible at Clemson. He was terrible at Oregon State. I don't know why we accept him at Florida State. I really think that the starting quarterback should be Brock Glenn because of watching what I've seen in practice, watching what I've seen on their YouTube page. Brock Glenn was a true freshman last year. Came in week 14 at the Swamp when Tate Rodemaker went down off a targeting call. Went out, balled out, finished balling out that game, get a win. Goes into the ACC championship, balls out. Not really balls out. It was a rough game, but does well for a true freshman that's maybe taken 40 snaps as on the starting team that year. At that point, you ask me, he shows the passion. He shows that I think as a true freshman, he showed potential. So if you ask me, I think that's who should be our starting quarterback. But I'm not Mike Norvell. I don't really get to make the choices. Our defense looked slow and sluggish that entire game, especially for having several returning players, like Patrick Payton, defensive end, Shaheem Brown, cornerback, DJ Lundy, linebacker. A lot of senior guys that are there that should have led this defense to do better than what it did at that game. I don't know if it was jet lag. I don't know if it was that. I'm just, as a Florida State fan of coming off of what we did last year, it was a very sad game to watch because that's not the Florida State that I watched for 14 games last year. I'm kind of tired of DJ doing 5-yard checkdowns every time we're throwing the ball. I think at halftime he was completed 75% of his passing and averaged 0.1 yards per throw.
Wow.
It was something ridiculous. It was a very terrible stat. But otherwise, we looked very well. Malik Benson from Alabama, he looked really good. Cam Davis, our incoming freshman from Georgia, big. He's Derrick Henry, but probably the size of Josh Jacobs is what I would say. Just a straight down force running back. That boy's huge. Um, just I think there's a lot of potential. We get to bounce back. Who do we play next? I think Boston College at home.
Yeah.
Yep, Boston College at home on a Monday night. That should be a bounce back game. That should be a win. But when we played Boston College last year, we did struggle, but it was also 40-mile-an-hour winds during that game, so we really couldn't throw the ball. But I think that will be a good bounce back game, and that's a make or break game for the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. While you have the schedule pulled up, are there? What do you think the rest of the season looks like? Do you think it's realistically? Do you think it's possible for FSU to win out, or what'll be their most challenging matchups this year?
Well, your most challenging matchups are going to be you have Clemson at home. Will be a tough game. Then you have to play Notre Dame, Miami, and Duke all away from home. So those 4 games will be will be make or break games, and then of course always last week, Florida State, the battle for the Sunshine State. Well, it really depends on how Florida does. Is Florida's coming into that game at 3-9 or 3-8, then that should be an easy beat up game because Florida's probably got top 5 toughest schedule of the year.
Wow.
But those are the make or break games. I think if we win out, heck, even if we lose another ACC game, I think we could still make a push for the title, or if not, try to make a push for the 6 through 12 spots for the playoffs.
All right, there you have it. I'll definitely have to watch it at least either the Notre Dame or Clemson game.
I'm gonna try to go to the Notre Dame. I'm gonna try to go to South Bend and watch that game.
Yeah, and hopefully if you do, we'll have you back on and maybe get some good video or photo content there that we can throw up as well. But I would love to hear about that.
Look
Are you
forward
gonna
to it.
go to any home games this year? Do you know?
I unfortunately did not get season tickets this year. I'm gonna try for next year, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to the Florida State game. I wouldn't mind going to UNC Florida State, or I'm gonna try to go to all the home games that I can.
All right.
I think my 3 major ones are Florida State, and then Florida and Clemson.
Okay. All right. Well, if you go to that UNC game, make sure you guys win big. I want you to
I'll try.
really embarrass them. Fuck the Tar Heels.
I'll be in Mike's ear.
There you go. There you go. All right. So are FSU your pick to win the ACC this year?
They are. I have FSU over Virginia Tech.
FSU over Virginia Tech. All right. So not Clemson.
Not Clemson. I don't. Clemson's not what they used to be. Dabo Swinney's falling off. He's not playing the transfer portal game like most other schools are. He's solely on recruiting. But Virginia Tech, I think, is a sleeper. I think they finally have now put it together, and we could see a Virginia Tech that looks similar to the Michael Vick Virginia Tech, or the older Virginia Techs, the ones that went to the national championship game and lost to Florida State in '93. I think this is Virginia Tech's year to bounce back and be an elite program in the ACC.
All right. Well, we'll have to keep our eye on Virginia Tech then. Luke, what do you think about the ACC this year?
Yeah, I actually have Miami taking it this year, just off of that week 1 from Florida State. I think win that one easily, Florida State, but I do have Miami winning it. Their hardest games are probably going to be the Florida State game, of course, and then they go to Louisville. And that's pretty much it. That's all you can report back to there. They play Florida week 1. Week 1 you're going to find out what they are, but they play the toughest schedule for a reason. Miami's one of their toughest opponents because of all the transfers they've got in. Now they're in their 3rd year with their coach. Yeah, I just think Miami will end up winning it because they're starting a game ahead right now, week 1.
We're also talking about the Miami last year that didn't kneel out to win the game and decided to run the ball and lost.
This is true. If they want to do that again, then I will gladly be wrong. But I have Miami over FSU.
I'm sorry, I just have to. It's the U. I have to break the U over my knee any chance I get.
Yeah, that was literally probably the dumbest play of all year last year, if we're gonna be real. Kneel it down. Take the victory.
True.
Well, I feel a little less confident in my answer after your explanation, Colin, but I did have Clemson, and I'll stick with it. I think
Clemson's not a bad
if
pick.
If it was I really wanted to pick NC State, but they already had their Cinderella story this year with college basketball, so I don't think they can pull out a wild college football season on top of it. But hey, maybe they can ride the momentum. But I think it's enough for them to be ranked this season. All right, so that leaves our last prediction, which will be the national champion for the year. Luke, who do you have?
It pains me, but I'm actually going to have to say go Dogs, I think. They're number one for a reason. And I have yet to be proven the opposite of why they shouldn't win it all.
All right. Colin, agree or disagree?
I disagree. I have Oregon over Georgia.
Oregon, okay.
Like I say, this is probably one of the best Oregon teams. Even like last year, we saw it. It was all that Oregon team has been probably one of the best ones since Justin Herbert's been there with Bo Nix last year. I think this is the year they finally take that step and get to the national championship game and actually win their first national championship.
All right. So, predicting the first national championship for Oregon. All right, for me, I don't like my answer because I don't like them, and it seems backwards to not pick them for the Big Ten, but pick them to win it all. I think Ohio State has a good shot this year. They've been kind of quiet for a little bit, and I don't know. It just feels about time for Ohio State to win something again because they always seem to find a way to do that every once in a while. So that'll be my very not thought out pick for the year. But yeah, there you have it. So we'll have to reconvene after the season is over and see how close or how far off we were and maybe get a breakdown of that FSU season as well. But Colin, thanks for joining us and shedding some light into the college football world.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll look forward to having you on sometime again soon, hearing about what you've gotten to experience, or if you just need to go on a good old rant about FSU, you can do that as well.
I got Twitter for that, so you might get a double dose.
There we go. Content to put on screen too. But all right, I think that'll wrap us up for today. So for Ranters and Banters, I'm your host Briley, joined by
Luke,
and hope
special
y'all
guest Colin.
And special guest Colin. Yes, absolutely.
My bad.
No. Yeah. So hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you in a couple days for the weekend preview.